Hello everyone, welcome back. I am very excited for today's layout. I get excited anytime I'm scrapbooking, who are we kidding? But if you love lots of layers, you're going to love today's layout because there's going to be lots of layers and I'm going to share tips for layering. I've got two photos. This is my husband and I, and these were taken several years ago, but the greenery in the photo was Christmas time, so it was all, the old town was all done up, but we've got this cool brick building in the background, green wooden doors, wooden posts, and all of that beautiful greenery. So I'm going to be documenting this memory today. I am going to start with the frame style layout. So this piece of gorgeous paper is actually from the Silver Bells collection. I think I'm going to use this side because this color here just complements the wood tones in the photo beautifully. And I'm wearing blacks and browns and my husband's wearing a brown plaid shirt, so I think it just looks really nice. I also have a piece of white daisy that I've trimmed down to 11.5 squared. So we're just having that 1/4 inch margin peek around just enough to appreciate that color and the pattern. Don't worry, yes, I will gut this paper so we can use that for another layout. And through the magic of video, I went ahead and gutted that out. I am going to actually adhere this down to my VersaMat so it's not moving around. When you remove the section in the center, it does become very flimsy. So these, keeping it securely in place is even more important. And, you know, this matters because if your paper is crooked on your VersaMat, then it's not going to be very helpful in getting your layers lined up. So you do want to make sure that's on there square. I just do one in each corner. Now we can go ahead and get this centered. I did go around the edges of this paper with Mocha ink just to finish that off there. Okay, that's looking good. Now I have all of these fun layers to work with. I've got a scalloped edge. This one I just cut from pattern paper. This is from the Evergreen bulk collection. This is my favorite pattern here. I love it, although I'm not using that one on today's layout. And then I've cut this piece in sage with that nice little scalloped edge, and then this gorgeous paper from Evergreen. On one side you have this beautiful soft grid pattern and then the music notes. You'll notice a little tab on there. So what I did, and then this is my title, which I used print and cut. So let me show you. All of these came from the digital art collection. So if you don't have a Cricut or a Silhouette or a Brother Scan and Cut, that's okay. You can still totally replicate everything I'm doing here. I just want to show you where I got these bits and pieces. So do you see this layout right here? Do you see the little tab and all of the little goodies around there? There's a scallop border there. So it's a double page layout. You literally drop this into your canvas and you cut it, and you cut, you know, they've given you color suggestions here, but you can make this layout any color you want. If you want to go winter wonderland and make it all blues and silvers and whites, you can totally do that. So I took this layout here, dropped it into my Cricut design space, completely deleted this side because I just wanted this one. And then I flipped the layout so that it's up and down to go along with my photo, because my photo is portrait style, not landscape, how this is designed. And I omitted the background because I just didn't quite want that. I have some other ideas. I'm going to be incorporating a stencil. One of my favorite ways to create layers is with stencils. So I have this one here, and I've used this before on my channel, but we've got this brickwork stencil, and is that not perfect? We've got some bricks in the photo, and I think this will just look really nice, little soft hints of it. This is a cool stencil. I'll pull in another layout here in a little bit and show you how I've used the measurements, but you've got a title and this cool clock element here, really fun stencil. So I'll be using that. So I wanted to get rid of the lacy floral, well, it's like not floral, they're leaves in the background. It's beautiful, but I wanted to use my stencil. So I actually designed this entire layout in Cricut and then just cut the pieces, and now I get to put it together. So I wanted to use the music note piece, and I absolutely love the tabs, and I'm going to change it up just a little bit, and then I'm even going to incorporate some stickers from the sticker sheet for my embellishing. So this is going to sit right here. And the way I designed it in Design Space was for the title to be here, and I shrunk it down. So that's another fun thing. You can drop in rectangles to replicate your photos, and then you can size things accordingly. So this is going to be the main layout here. Now this particular lantern was a must use for me. How cute is that? Is that not the cutest little lantern there? And that is this piece right here. You can see the little lantern, and I thought it was so cute. I really wanted to use it on this layout. And you can't see, but the little town of Columbia here, this is a historic gold mining town, was all done up for Christmas, and there's red bows all up there. Unfortunately, they got cut off in the photo, but I am thinking the lantern here. So if you flip this layout, we've got an embellishment cluster here and then one here. And you know me, I got to do things in three. So I'm going to add a third embellishment cluster. But yeah, I'll show you the pictures of the Design Space, you know, what I came up with in Design Space. So I've got this great tag that I can use. You know me and my tags. So we're going to stick this one up top. Now, I mentioned I want to create or add some stenciling. So what I'm going to do is adhere these layers together, but not adhere them to the background. That way I can move them out of the way, because you want to do the stenciling first, right? You want to put the stenciling on the background, but I don't know where I want to put it yet. So let's just set that aside and this aside, and let's add some ink to the layers. I think I'm going to go with a Mocha ink for this particular layout. You know, on second thought, let's use black. There's black in the music note paper and in the lantern, and I think this will look better. So I'll go ahead and do the edges, but I do want to show you a closer look at that double page pre-designed layout, and you can make it exactly as is, or you can switch it up, of course, like I'm doing today. And this is the version. I used all of those bits and pieces, and I created this in Design Space for my own layout. And if you're interested in seeing the actual process of how I go about creating those layouts in Design Space and just kind of playing around with different options before cutting any paper, then let me know in the comments section below, and I can share that content with you if it's something that would be helpful or you would possibly enjoy. I have all my bits and pieces inked up, but I am going to use sage ink and a soft bristled blending brush to add a tone-on-tone little ink blending to this scallop border piece, which is also cut from sage cardstock. So this is something I love to do with my Cricut cuts because it just adds instant interest, and it's probably not showing up for you very well on camera, but you'll be able to see it a little bit later, I think, in you know, more detail. But yeah, just add some depth and interest. So that looks pretty good. I am going to go ahead and adhere these pieces together, just being mindful to not adhere them to the white piece of cardstock, because I want to be able to move these out of the way so I can bring in that stenciling layer that I want to add. You can see I am layering up several different pattern papers, but if you'll notice, none of them are overly busy. I've chosen subtle patterns to work together, and I do recommend you avoid using crazy busy, overwhelming patterns when you are creating lots of layers. So that pine green has a very tiny little leaf on it. It's kind of a tone on tone, and then we're using different shades of green, but we're kind of sticking within a limited color palette. And again, that's just going to make everything layer together nicely and not become too visually overwhelming. Another way to add layers in is with stenciling or stamping on the background. So I'm just getting a feel for where I want to add these bricks, and I think we'll start in the upper right-hand corner. And I'm going to use almond ink. You could also use toffee or shortbread. Almond is a retired color, but you know, I love it. So I'm going to use it here for my layout. And I chose a light color to keep the stenciling light so it's not like drawing too much attention. I really don't want it to be a focal point. I just want it to be part of the story in the background. I really enjoy using these soft bristled blending brushes for stenciling. They don't damage your stencil. They go on softly, but you can build the color if you want it darker, which is nice. So let's bring this back in and make sure we're happy with what is showing. How many times have you stenciled or stamped on the background and then ended up covering it up? I know I've definitely done that myself numerous times. So that's why I adhered all those pieces together so I could just bring it back in and quickly see that I am, adding all this detail work in a place that it can actually be visible. I am repeating that stenciling on the bottom, and I do want this to be a wider section across. So once I get this inked up, I will bump this stencil over to the right and we can keep the pattern going. And I don't want any hard edges, so I'm actually just having it kind of get lighter and lighter as it goes out towards the edge to not have like a hard line, if that's making sense. So our stenciling detail is not like a physical layer like our cardstock or pattern paper, but it is still a visual layer that we're adding to, which is really adding a lot to the layout. So we've got our cardstock and now we're adding our stenciling on top. And as I mentioned earlier, you could, achieve the same look with stamps. You can do some stamping on the background. There's, how much I love my background and texture stamps. Or you could even do a little ink blending without a stencil, just putting a soft halo of color there. I also want to add some splatter. So I've got my all-purpose mat and I'm going to squeeze out just a little bit of my gold shimmer brush. And this is going to add just a hint of sparkle. So I'm tapping it on those brick areas. And when I hold this up to catch the light, I think you'll be able to see it a little bit better. This is a Christmas layout after all, so you can never have too much sparkle there. I think you can see it. When I hold it, it's subtle, but again, we want it to be subtle because it's just background interest. We are just about ready to start the fun embellishing process. I have a whole bunch of embellishments to play with. Now, I want to show you these. You can cut these little sprigs from the Cricut collection. They definitely are included in there. Lots of different varieties. But I also have the paperboard shapes from the Evergreen workshop. So the workshop gives you everything to create these pre-designed layouts, including the step-by-step instructions and all these bonus die cuts, which I love, bonus pattern paper, but these are the little sprigs and they're just so delicate and lacy and beautiful. I love them. There's also the paperboard shapes from this same collection where you get white and you get the craft colored, but there aren't any of the green sprigs. You get white and then craft color sprigs and then a whole bunch of different layering bits in here. I absolutely love those. You can look at them online or they have them here in the catalog you can see. And then I pulled some stickers. I love this little postage stamp sticker. I think that's so cute. And then here, let me just dump these little guys out here. The pine cones are from the digital collection here. Those were right in the, you can't hardly see them because it's tone on tone, but you can see there's a card with a pine cone, lots of different pine cones. So I did cut those out. If you don't have a Cricut, I've been having so much fun with the Evergreen card making workshop because there's a pine cone in here that layers and then a sprig also. So I've been using those quite a bit. But I cut out the top layer of the pine cone in Mocha glitter paper. Can you see how sparkly that is? And I did make them a few different sizes. I'm going to put the larger one on the bottom and then carry that up to the top with a slightly smaller pine cone. So what I'm thinking is putting this lantern here, and I kind of was maybe gonna mat it on a piece of white cardstock so we don't have all those layers, but lanterns are glass. We want to be able to see through it, but my candle isn't really showing up a whole lot. So what I decided to do is cut a piece of vellum. I've got this tiny little scrap of vellum. I just cut that by hand. You could do an outline in Cricut Design Space, but sometimes it's just easier to cut things by hand. And that tones down the background, but still gives that see-through glass look that you would have with a lantern. Isn't that so cute? And you know what? Let's use that same gold shimmer brush and color our little flame in so it's sparkly, like a little sparkling flame would really be. I love lanterns. I have lanterns on my front porch and lanterns inside for my holiday decor. Well, year round, really. I just think they're so pretty. I want to create an embellishment cluster by layering up a bunch of pieces here. So let's go ahead and adhere this lantern down to the layout. I'm adding adhesive to the back of the candle and the top of the lantern so that does not show through the vellum. And then I always recommend putting some elements kind of underneath your photo and then some on top of your photo overlapping, and it just makes everything kind of work together. And we're just tucking little bits and pieces. I've got these white paperboard shapes and then this postage stamp here. The original layout had 2 tags, but I'm using this postage stamp in lieu of that second tag. I'm going to cut off the bottom and save that for another project. And then we will use this pine cone to be the top piece overlapping the photo. And then I'm going to add a few sprigs here. And you're not really seeing those show up against that pine background, but it is a nice little texture. And then when I tuck in like this white one here, that'll definitely brighten that up a little bit more. I also have these really cool stars, or Christmassy, but kind of like a country Christmas look. Some of those are stickers from the sticker sheet and some of them are Cricut cuts. So I will just disperse those about the layout, and maybe that one there. Let's try this one up top. It doesn't show up against that tag, so let's swap it out for the little green one there. I do want to create a third point of interest with my embellishments, so I was thinking maybe a couple sprigs. We'll tuck these behind the photo, one kind of arcing up and then one spilling downwards, and then we'll use this star to layer over the top of the photo. I am feeling like nothing is catching this photo down here. I also feel like I need a little bit of this shortbread color, so I've got a scrap here, and this will give me kind of an idea. There's a couple of different ways I could do this. I could mat the photo, or I could bring in just a few little like maybe banner tail pieces, but we definitely need something to stop your eye or stop these photos from falling off the page. Do you see? I think you'll be able to see the difference, but I do think maybe a little mat of this shortbread. I ran back to Cricut Design Space and cut out one of these pieces. I just shrunk it down, and that way I just think that little file tab is so cute. So let's see how this looks behind the photo here. And again, that's just going to bring that shortbread color down to the bottom. I can already tell you that is looking better. So let's bring, actually, I know I'm going to want to use this because I love it. So we can reapply our adhesive. And I may want to layer some bits under it, so I don't want to put the adhesive too close to the edge. So we'll just kind of put a few pieces in the middle for now to hold it down into place. And we can bring our little sprigs back in because I did like that. I just love the movement these delicate little pine sprigs add to the page. And bring back in our star here. I found these little banner tail elements from the Evergreen Die-cuts that come along with the workshop, and I thought these could work down here just to create a little something something to anchor those photos. So I do like that. Maybe this little shortbread. Let's just go with the 2 for now. You know, I'm thinking let's actually try bringing this down with these little pieces down here to make it one embellishment cluster. I liked it up by the title, but you know what? I do like that better, and that kind of draws your eye down to that photo. Since there is a reddish hue in the bricks, I thought it might be fun to bring in some of this scarlet cardstock. This is a red with a lot of brown in it, and there's this tiny little bow. This is the Silver Bells card making workshop, and this is an exclusive stamp and die set, and I absolutely love the ornament and this really festive little bow. And that looks perfect on top of the lantern. I really like that. But since I brought red in, now I have to repeat that elsewhere on the layout. So I went ahead and cut another one of those stars using the same scarlet cardstock in the background. I mentioned earlier that there were red bows actually up in the pine boughs. And even though you can't see him in the photo, oh look, Dave's here. Hi Dave, he's such a good kitty boy. Let me move him out of the way. Actually, I'll let him say hi. Look at him. He's so handsome. You just love him. This guy's such a crack up. So I do want to use this tiny little tab here on the side of my smaller photo to add the date. This is a very old stamp set. I have had it for a long time, but it's, you know what, you can never have too many, stamping basics like this, like titles and date stamps and things of that nature. You're definitely going to get your money's worth out of those. So I just stamped December of 2020. I want to add one more little pop of red. We need some up in that upper embellishment cluster. So I grabbed some of these sparkly enamel dots, and I'm thinking, kind of like berries, holly berries in a Christmas arrangement. And look at that little guy. And yeah, I like it. I did promise to show another layout where I used this stencil, and I do have a process video here on my channel for this one, but you can see the, the tape measure marks on the side here, and then I used the clock element. I didn't actually create a clock. I just have the circles peeking out as just kind of a design element there. So again, another great use of just beginning your layering with stencils on the base sheet of cardstock and then adding more layers on top from there. You can find still shots of this layout along with all of my other artwork over on Facebook, Instagram, or Pinterest. Doesn't that stenciling look so good? I love it. You can find all of the supplies listed in the description box below. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you would take a moment to hit that thumbs up button. Thank you so much for doing that. And if you're looking for more Christmas inspiration, then watch these videos right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you very soon.